So the next kind of word problems for us are consecutive integers. And I did put like what section of chapter 2 these come from, but I'm doing the word problems as a separate sort of focus. And the homework for these would be the assignment pages, the blue in your package or on the Moodle site, where there's a number of word problems for you to do. So consecutive integers, we need to think about what integers are. If we remember about integers on the number line, they were each of the points on the number line. So nothing in between, all the whole numbers, both positive and negative. Okay, so we're going to talk about consecutive integers. If we were to set them up in terms of x statements, so we might have, say, 3 consecutive integers. And in coming chapters, we'll be able to have like X, Y, and Z, but we only have one variable, one letter, to represent 3 different numbers. So we need to come up with X statements to represent 3 different numbers, all in terms of one letter. So if we think about an example of 3 consecutive integers, let's go 1, 2, and 3. And X is going to represent the first integer. How would we get to the 2 in my example? It would be x plus 1. If we wanted to get to 3 in here, it would be x plus 2. These are always the x statements, or x statements. If it says only 2 consecutive integers, like this first example coming up, it would be x and x plus 1, right? All right, so the other thing that we're going to do is consecutive odd or even integers. Sometimes my writing is so messy with this pen that I'm using. Okay, so 3 consecutive odd or even integers. So odd integers would be 1, 3, 5. Those would be consecutive odd integers, right? If we think about building the let statements for these, it would be x, x plus 2, and x plus 4. That's how we would get to those ones in my example. Well, what if it was even integers? So what about 2, 4, and 6? Would they fit this same let pattern? So it would be x for 2, and how we get to 4 would be x plus 2 and x plus 4. Doesn't matter whether they're odd or even, it's always the same x statements. What if they were negative numbers? So consecutive negative integers. So we might have consecutive -2, or sorry, we'll go -6, -4, -2. They would also fit this same pattern. And so it doesn't matter whether they're odd or even, these are always the x statements. So in all of these consecutive integer problems, if you read them correctly and identify them as consecutive integer problems, the let statement is a really simple step, or it's a simple point to get in the process of answering these word problems. So let's launch into these. So A says the sum of 2 consecutive integers is 41. So that's equals 41. And the sum implies addition. So let x and x plus 1 be the integers, right? If I'm going to add these two things together, I'm adding x and x plus 1 together, right? These are the two things I'm adding together. Now the brackets I put in here aren't really necessary, so you could just see it as x plus 1 equaling 41. This is your equation. Now we need to solve that equation. So we have 2 x's, so literally 2x plus 1 equals 41. Subtract 1 from both sides. We get 2x equaling 40. Divide this by 2. We get x equaling 20. And as much as that is a correct point along the process of solving this, it's not your answer. So the answer is 20 and 21 are the integers. And how we get those two numbers is taking this x back to my let statement. So we've got 20 and then 20 plus 1, so that's the 21. Sometimes it's worth taking your x value back over to where you've written your let statements so you can show your work to get to your answers. Let's try another one of these. So it says the sum of 3 consecutive integers is 51. So as soon as I see 3 consecutive integers, that's going to be x, x plus 1, and x plus 2. Whatever they are, they're going to fit this pattern. So let these be the integers. So it says the sum of them. So there's 3 things I'm adding together, and you can put the brackets around them or not. I'm not going to because it's just going to be something I have to take apart. So these are the 3 different integers. I've underlined them so you can see them better. And the sum of those is 51. So gathering my like terms, collecting my like terms, I have 3 x's and plus 3. I've got 2 whole numbers there. So 3 equals 51. I've got my let statement, I got my equation. Now I'm solving my equation. I'll subtract 3 from both sides. I get 3x equaling, what is that, 48? And then I divide both sides by 3. There we go. X equals 16. So x equals 16, totally right, but not the final answer. So the integers are 16, 17, and 18. And how we get to that is by taking my x answer back to my let statement. So that'd be 16 and 16 plus 1 and 16 plus 2. So that's where I get 16, 17, and 18 for my work. All right, a few more of these. C says the sum of 2 consecutive odd integers is 88. So the 2 consecutive odd integers here, we've already gone through this. The let statements are going to be x and x plus 2. All odd integers or even integers would fit this pattern. So again, it's the sum of these two things. So I'm adding them together and it is 88. So I'd collect my like terms, subtract 2 from both sides, divide by 2 for an x value answer of 43. And again, I'm not done with that. I need to take that back to my let statement. So it'd be 43 and then 43 plus 2, so 45. So 43 and 45 are the integers. D, we can pause in class and you can give this one a go. This is the explanation of it. It's 3 consecutive even integers. So we've got x, x plus 2, and x plus 4. And again, it doesn't matter odd or even, they're always 2 apart. And so the sum of these 3 things together is 126. Gathering this all up, I'd have 3x plus 6 equaling 126. Subtract 6 from both sides, I get 3x equaling 120. I get x equaling 40. And so my final answer is 40, 42, and 44 are the integers. This last one is just a little bit different. It does take more translation from the English language into the algebra. So I'll read it and then we'll have to give it a minute for you to try and come up with the let statement. So it says the smallest of 2 consecutive even integers. So we've got 2 consecutive even integers. So as soon as I read that, I've got these as the 2 let statements. So x and x plus 2. This one's going to be the smaller. This one's going to be the larger integers. And I know that my grammar here is all terrible, but it's intentional, right? Like I've set my variables equal to these concepts. So now I need to translate this. In class, I'm going to pause it for you to come up with the equation. It takes a little bit of time to get to. So that's the equation I got for this. So the smaller of two consecutive integers is 12 less than twice the larger. I made a point here to say smaller and larger, and that helped me with my translation. If you get to that equation, now we can do the solving of it. Usually people are happy once they get to that point, then they tie in and put it together. And once I get down to what x equals, I need to take it back to my let statements. Oops. So the integers are 8 and 10. And it's always worth checking in. The last part of the word problem kind of step-by-step or coaching was check that it does make sense. And those are two even integers, and they do fit the equation that I made.